something like hidden in the depths of Spotify and, get so inspired by it. And then someone else will send you another song that's hidden in the depths of Apple Music. And, to me, that is fascinating, really exciting. I mean, one of the people that I work with is Lexi Scatina, and she will message me at like 3 a.m. and send me a song. And she's like, listen to this, you need to listen to this. And then I wake up at 3 a.m. and I listen to this song and I'll be like, I hate you because now I can't stop listening to this song. And it's 3 a.m. and I really like my sleep. But like, that's like the best part of it. I love that. And I love the kind of relationship that you can have with people that you work with and, enjoy the whole kind of process.
Yeah. Any tips for, getting out of your man cave, woman cave and just socializing? Because I know it's a big problem, and I had an eye opening. I've talked about this on the podcast in the past. Is like when I went to AES in 2017, I realized, oh, there are other people that do this. It's not just me, and like that was a big important moment for me. Like, and we really can feel like we're by ourselves. So do you have any tips for just like interacting with other people that do what we do? And
I mean, it can be very difficult. I agree. You've got to just try and like just put yourself out there and find where like-minded people are hanging out. Even if it's like a Facebook group or, I mean, I went to university for music production, and that was like one of the best things I could have done because
you didn't tell me about that at the end.
Throwing in a curveball.
Yeah.
I mean, but because I was it was like a music college, so I'm never going to be in a place with so many other musicians and music producers in my life. Like there were thousands of us. And, people kind of say music degrees are pointless and you won't get a job and all this kind of stuff, which is kind of true in a sense. But having that chance to network with people who are so like-minded, who are so driven to, doing what they're doing, it definitely got me started on my career. Like I would be nowhere near where I am today if I didn't have that network or I didn't speak to people that were, interested in what I was interested in. So I think if you, obviously I'm not saying go to university, but find where you can find these people. I mean, there's loads of Facebook groups where you can find people just, and just start conversations. Even if it's on Instagram, like if you find an artist that you like, just reach out to them and speak to them. You find a producer, like they're not going to tell you to fuck off, It's, I mean, they might do, but who cares at the end of the day? Like,
right. That's like the Gary V approach, right? Just message everyone.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you follow Gary V, but no, it's so true. It's like interesting how like you could feel so, it's like never been easier to communicate, but it's never felt more isolating at the same time.
Yeah.
But you got to go for it, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it was probably easier like years ago when you had to work out of studios and, you had like a constant flow of people coming in and out. Whereas now, like you said, you can work from your own like man cave, woman cave, and basically never actually meet anyone in person. I think if you can just find where people are hanging out, and even if it's like a networking event in your city or, somewhere close to you, you will find people. Like it can be quite nerve-wracking, obviously, but you will 100% find people that you kind of share this interest with. Yeah.
It's also interesting how you talked about how college was that gave you the connections that you needed to really get your career started.
Yeah.
And I've heard that before. Like the degree in music production is about the networking, and you got to use it for that.
Yeah.
So
100%. Yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, we were talking about, I guess before we started recording, about like mixing, how sometimes you do mixing and sometimes you send off mixing. Do you want to talk about when you choose to mix, when you choose to send it out? Like,
yeah. So I always kind of prefer to send my mixes off to other people like Carl, like you've had on the show, Carl Barner.
Yeah.
He's just like an incredible mixing engineer, and I would much rather he get his hands on it than me do it. But yeah, I mean, it just usually it comes down to budget at the end of the day, and I'm very focused on the songwriting process and kind of nailing the feel and the vibe of the song. So if I can, and it's the artists are willing, I will send it off for mixing, because you've kind of got that second set of ears who are taking a listen from a technical aspect, but also creative aspects. I mean, Carl, he's a creative mixing engineer. He'll listen to something and say, actually, it could be cool if we did this here. He won't just level it. He's very involved in the process, which is what I love. Because, like I said before, I love the kind of collaboration aspect of it. So, yeah, I mean, if I can, I will try and get someone else mixing it for me, for who I'm working with.
Nonetheless, what you sent me, I listened to a couple tracks that you had mixed by yourself, and they sounded really great.
Thank you.
I think you clearly have chops for that as well. Do you have like a process that you use? Do you have a template or a philosophy that you go through before starting a mix?
I mean, I very much kind of mix as I go along, especially when it comes, I mean, just like kind of basic compression, just because it would really annoy me if something's sticking out to me,
Yeah.
And very much like kind of stereo image and that kind of thing. I kind of do it as I go along. And then usually once I've finished the production and I'm like, I've got the go ahead, I will kind of take everything down and then level it to make sure it's right and, find any issues that I'm having. But I mean, I really should use a template, to be honest. But I just don't. I'm just so, so unorganized in that sense.
You're mixing within your production project, basically.
Yeah. I mean, if you looked at my projects, you wouldn't be able to find anything. And it's a good job that I am the only producer working on my projects, because it is like shocking. And actually that's one of the benefits of working with Carl, is that I have to kind of name everything and send it over to him in like a readable format. I mean, but otherwise it is just a mess. But
are you on Ableton, Logic?
Yeah,
Pro
Ableton.
Tools?
Yeah.
Ableton.
So I'll use Ableton for producing and then usually use Logic for recording, just because it's like 100 times easier than Ableton.
The comping is so easy in Logic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, one thing I noticed in your mixes is like the low end is always so fat. Like, what's your... Do you have any secret tools, like secret weapons?
I would say, I mean, I will pretty much always use a sub bass. So I think that's probably the main aspect, that there was always a sub.
Like R bass or something.
Yeah. I mean, even just like a basic like sine, and just kind of to fatten things out. I mean, yeah, there's no kind of technique other than that, to be honest. And I think a lot of it kind of comes down to like just mixing it and trying to get it right. I can't really put my finger on it, to be honest. And it's just kind of something that I've learned as I've gone along. And I think also mastering, because I work with Nick, who was also on the show, and
yeah,
he very much, he can kind of pinpoint these points and go, I really want the space to hit, and he'll do it, and I'll just be like, okay, well, this is perfect. So you've made my production sound like 1,000 times better.
Wow. Do you send him stems, or or is it just like a stereo master?
Just like a stereo mix, yeah. And he'll kill it every time.
All right, I gotta talk to Nick.
Yeah.
Amazing. So it's interesting. We spoke about Carl a little bit. So you mentioned to me before we started recording that you were in a mastermind group with him.
Yeah.
And that really kind of helped shoot your career forward. Do you want to talk about what that group was?
Yeah.
And how it affected you?
So, I mean, essentially it was just, like you said, like a mastermind group, and it was kind of musicians, artists, producers, mixing engineers, whatnot. And we would kind of get together every week and just have a chat and kind of discuss, we'd go around every week and kind of discuss what issues we were having and, what we were struggling with. And, we couldn't get past like a certain point or something, or there's just something we couldn't understand. And everyone else would kind of chip in and give their opinion on it. And I think that kind of really pushed me in the right direction, because, I mean, beforehand, it's like what we were saying before, if you don't have the network, it can be quite difficult. And this was kind of a network of people that I really genuinely trusted to give me their opinion. And, through because we had people that were at varying different levels of the music industry. Like we had people that were working with like A-list artists, and then people that were, just starting out. So it's very interesting to see like the different views, and you can kind of trust everyone to add their opinion, and you listen to everyone as well. You know, it's not just the bigger people that you listen to. It is, you know, you can, because everyone has something to add. And
was it mostly like creative critiques, or was it mostly like business critiques, or was it a combination?
It was a combination. I mean, it was different every single time. I mean, you know, some of the sessions got emotional, and it was, you know, just life stuff. And I think I mean, it's great because it's just like a group of friends, and you kind of hold each other accountable. And you know, you say, well, how did you get on this week? And it's like, oh, well, I didn't do that well. It's like, well, why? You know, oh, well, I'm doing this. You know, well, this is what you could do. You know, and it's just basic accountability. And for me, you know, that helped me in like so much. I mean, especially Carl, he was kind of very much like a mentor to me, and, you know, kind of pushing me in the right direction, because having someone there that was doing what I wanted to do was like invaluable, you know?
Right. That's awesome, because so many of us like maybe would want to get like an internship at a studio, or,
yeah,
you know, those things barely exist. So this is like a great way to maybe do that virtually.
I mean, and you can set this up with anyone. Like there's nothing stopping you from setting this up with a group of friends. I mean, I would say try and set it up with people from different backgrounds, different kind of areas of expertise, because then you get like kind of varying opinions, and then it really is interesting what people come up with. Because I think if you had like a group just full of producers, you would kind of get always similar answers, I suppose. But there is nothing stopping you from doing that. I think you just got to be interested in doing it, and, you know, kind of stay motivated to do it. And, you know, I still have other groups that I meet up with. Like I have like a writing team that I stay with in LA and New York, and we kind of write.
Wow.
We pitch for people, and we met through one of these mastermind groups, and like we have calls every now and then, and we do writing sessions, and, you know, we kind of bounce ideas off each other, and it's honestly, it's the best. It's like a little musical family.
That's so cool. All right, I need to get into another mastermind group.
Yeah, you can join ours. You know. Let's get into it.
Seriously? if you're serious, I would definitely try it.
Go for it. Why not?
All right, man. We'll talk about it after the recording. Because I told you I was involved in a mastermind group that kind of fizzled out. But even in like the first session that we did, it was amazingly productive and helped all of us.
Yeah.
Like it was just that first kick in the pants was invaluable.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something that I hadn't thought about in a little bit. But then you mentioned it to me, and I was like, oh wow, let's talk about it. But yeah. Congrats. I guess so. Let's move on to this new segment that I've started, and I don't have a name for it. And if anybody has a good name, they could please reach out, secretsonics@gmail.com. But basically, the idea is that we could call it an archetypical track, or just like a kind of track that has an interesting story or is somewhat typical of what the artist or producer works on. And we kind of listen to it for maybe 90 seconds, and then the guest will tell me a little bit about what went into it, the story, maybe in about 5 minutes or so. So I'm just going to pull up the song Stockholm Syndrome by Arcana, which Chris shared with me before we went on. And I'm going to have a listen now in real time just to get re-familiar with it. And you guys will hear it also, and then we'll talk about it. All right, I'm queuing it up.